As the sun began to set over the Sea of Galilee, a warm golden light danced across the calm water. Jesus had just finished teaching the crowds, and his words brought a sense of hope and peace to everyone who had gathered to listen. After a long day of healing and teaching, he turned to his disciples with a soft, knowing smile, ready for a moment of rest. "Let's go to the other side of the lake," he said, gesturing toward the water. The disciples nodded, their movements efficient and familiar as they began to prepare their small wooden boat for the journey ahead. They pushed it from the shore, and the gentle evening breeze carried the sound of lapping waves as they all climbed aboard. The stars were just beginning to appear in the twilight sky as the boat drifted peacefully across the still, calm water. The night felt safe and quiet. Tired from the day's work, Jesus found a cushion at the back of the boat. He lay down and quickly fell into a deep, peaceful sleep. The disciples spoke in hushed tones. Their whispers carried on the gentle rocking of the boat. But soon, the atmosphere began to change. Dark, ominous clouds started to gather above them. The air grew heavy, and a sudden chill in the wind whispered of a coming storm. The disciples looked at each other, a flicker of concern in their eyes. Then, the first waves hit the side of the boat, larger than before. The disciples, many of them experienced fishermen, gripped the mast and the sail, their knuckles white. Water splashed over the sides, drenching their feet. Suddenly, the storm struck with its full, terrifying force. Thunder roared so loudly it seemed to shake the very water beneath them, and blinding flashes of lightning lit up the chaotic scene. The little boat was tossed back and forth, rocking violently in the raging, angry sea. The disciples shouted to one another, their voices barely audible over the howling wind, as they fought to keep control. But the waves were too strong, too relentless. Fear, cold and gripping, began to fill their hearts as water poured into the boat. And yet, through all the chaos, Jesus slept on. His face remained completely peaceful, untouched by the turmoil raging around him, even as the storm soaked his robe. The disciples, now in a full-blown panic, couldn't understand it. Terrified they were about to sink, one of them scrambled to the back of the boat and shook Jesus awake. He cried out, his voice choked with fear and desperation, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" His words were almost lost in the furious wind. Jesus opened his eyes. He stood up slowly, his movements calm and deliberate, and looked around at the storm. The wind howled, the waves crashed, but his eyes were filled with an unshakable peace. He walked to the front of the boat and faced the raging sea, rain soaking his robe and whipping it around him. The disciples held their breath, their fear momentarily replaced by a sense of awe as they watched him. Then, with a voice that was not loud, but carried a power that cut through the storm, as water, Jesus raised his hand and said, "Peace, be still." In an instant, everything stopped. The wind died. The massive waves grew quiet and flattened out. The sea became perfectly, glacially still. The dark clouds parted, revealing the moon and stars once more. The only sound was the gentle, rhythmic lapping of water against the side of the boat. The disciples stood frozen, their mouths agape in utter amazement, staring at the now tranquil water. Jesus turned to them, his expression gentle. He asked them softly, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" They couldn't answer. Instead, they whispered to each other in hushed, trembling voices, "Who is this man, that even the wind and the waves obey him?" The rest of the journey was silent. The boat moved smoothly across the peaceful moonlit water, the stars shimmering above them like scattered diamonds. In the quiet, the disciples sat and thought, replaying the miracle they had just witnessed. They had seen the raw, incredible power of God with their own eyes. As dawn broke, the sea began to glow with a golden light beneath the rising sun. A deep, profound peace had returned, not just to the sea, but to their hearts. Finally, the boat touched the shore on the other side. The disciples stepped onto solid ground, their feet steady, but their minds still reeling in awe of what had happened. Jesus looked at them with kindness, and his presence was a quiet reminder. When the storms of life rise up and fear feels like a tidal wave, it is faith that keeps us steady. Trust in him is what brings true, lasting peace. Even today, when your own life feels stormy, when the waves of anxiety or uncertainty threaten to overwhelm you, remember his words. Remember the power in that voice that said, "Peace, be still." Because when Jesus is with you in your boat, no storm is ever too strong.